Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Karen Arribiaga, and I am an account executive here at Qualtrax. This is our 30-minute introductory webinar to the system. Throughout the presentation, if you have questions, please feel free to put those into the Q&A section of the Zoom meeting, and I'll make sure to review those towards the end and answer those questions for you. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Qualtrax is an all-in-one compliance management solution. And so what we do with our offering is we provide you with software to help you manage your compliance initiatives. We pair that with our team commitment to the industries that we serve and our customer base. We find if we can truly understand the burden our customers are under from a compliance standpoint, we can make sure that that's top of mind when we're thinking about new product functionality, but then also how we service our customer base. Qualtrax has been around for 26 years. We got started because our parent company had to be ISO 9001 and started going through that initiative. They realized that there wasn't software out there that really fit their need, and so they started building their own. When they went into their audit, their auditor really liked the solution that they had created and mentioned that that might be something they should share with others. And that's what we started doing. In the last 26 years, the software has grown as well as the standards change. But to date, we now serve many organizations as well as accrediting bodies that are also using the system. Organizations turn to Qualtrax when they're looking to really solve some key pain that they have. A lot of times that's through manual systems. The workload for their quality team is becoming too much to handle through the constant reminders and emails that they're sending out to their team members. And what Qualtrax is doing is really helped to manage that effort by doing a couple of things. Number one, it's going to centralize all of your organization's audit data in one location, making it easily accessible by everybody in your organization. Because everything's in one location and you have visibility into it, it gives you confidence when you're going into that audit that you're going to go in and you're not going to have findings. It also helps reduce audit prep time significantly, also helps reduce risk across your organization, and this comes down to just being able to report on the data that you're collecting. And it also helps encourage a culture of quality and continuous improvement. As you're collecting data and as you're tasking others within the organization to complete things within the system, it's really a great way to keep everything organized. How do we do this? We do this by offering some key features within the product. First, document management. So making sure all of your documents are in one location, easily searchable, and really controlling that full document lifecycle process between the edits, who's reviewing and approving the documents, and so on. Another portion of our product is around process automation, or what we call workflows. Workflows are the ability to automate different processes that you have for your organization, where we're taking individuals through key steps and different tasks that they need to complete and alerting them throughout that process, keeping people on task and holding them accountable for those actions. A lot of the examples you'll see us use here are corrective action requests, internal audits, proficiency testing, validations, and even vendor approvals, and many more. We also have the ability to track tests and trainings within the system. So tracking competency and awareness. Are the trainings that you're providing effective? And how can you prove that effectiveness through different competency tests that you offer? All three of these sit on top of a reportable platform. As you're collecting information and you're collecting that data in the system, you need that visibility to be able to identify trends and opportunities for improvements. And now even risks. How are you identifying your risks and how are you categorizing them? You're going to be able to do that with our reporting. Who uses Qualtrax? This is just a quick glance at some of the organizations that are using our software to date, just a few of them. We work with everything from small laboratories that are about 5 people or less, all the way to large manufacturers with thousands of users that are in one system. The system is very configurable. You get to choose how people are going to interact with the system, what they can and cannot see to really help streamline your quality initiatives. We work with a lot of government entities as well as private organizations. And as I mentioned earlier, also accrediting bodies. So you'll notice ANAB and A2LA's logo up here, also UL and the CAP. All of those are accrediting bodies. ANAB and A2LA actually are using Qualtrax to manage their own ISO 17011 accreditations and are our customers. But we have a very unique relationship with our accrediting body customers because we can learn a lot from them in terms of how the standards are changing and what it's like to be the in-between between their customers and their accreditation efforts and how Qualtrax can help. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and dump into the demonstration of the product. What you're seeing here is the basic login screen for Qualtrax. Now you can access Qualtrax in two ways. We have an on-premise installation if you would like to have Qualtrax on your own servers, but then we also have a cloud-based option. We call it our hosted offering. You would access Qualtrax just using a simple URL that is created specifically for your group, and everybody would have a unique username and password to get into the system. There's a lot of benefits for going hosted. Everything from we're doing all the maintenance and support, we're doing all the monitoring of the system. Qualtrax has a very active development schedule. We do about 2 to 3 major releases of our product a year. All of those will automatically come to your hosted instance once they're available. I'm going to log in as Trevor. Trevor is a quality manager here at this organization. And when I first log into the system, the page I'm going to come to is my inbox. And since Trevor is a quality manager, he has a lot of tasks that he needs to complete in the system. That's what his inbox is telling him. What tasks does he need to complete? Now these tasks are going to be divided into some key main areas. So over here to the left, documents. What documents do you need to edit? What documents do you need to review or approve? The middle section pertains to workflows. So are there specific action items I need to, or steps I need to complete within corrective action requests or our vendor approval process, or so on. Tests and trainings will be over here to the right. So if there are acknowledgement tests that I need to take, or even just basic trainings that I need to complete for my own job responsibilities. Now, every notification that you see here in your inbox is also going to be tied to email notifications. And those email notifications get sent out based on this legend up here. So anytime something is newly added, approaching its due date, is going to be late, or needs to be expedited, those email notifications are going to get sent out by the system. Even when it gets to this expedited step, this is an escalation process to managers, and so other individuals can be notified if somebody hasn't completed a specific task in the allotted time that was registered within our system. So the first area we're going to talk about is documents. Document control is one of those requirements from ISO that you need to prove that you are controlling your documents, with the idea that nobody's ever going to get a document that's out of date or currently being edited. With Qualtrax, you're going to be setting up a simple folder structure. And within this folder structure, you get to determine what that structure looks like, who sees what folders and what documents within that structure, but then more importantly, what documents they're going to be able to interact with, what they can edit and what they cannot edit. So you really have the ability to lock down each individual's view. With Qualtrax, our goal is really to make it simple for a person to be able to log into Qualtrax, see what they need to see, complete what they need to complete, log back out, and continue on with their day-to-day. When you're looking at these documents that are in this tree, at no point are you ever going to see a document that's out of date. Even if one of these is currently being edited, if I were to click one of them, it's still going to take me to the last published revision of the document, not the document that's being edited. That one's being controlled. We don't restrict the type of documents you can bring into the system. So Word, Excel, PowerPoints, videos, we've had some very unique types of documents in Qualtrax, and really there is no limit to what you can bring in the system. In fact, when you go to edit these documents, you're going to be editing them in their native format and then putting them into Qualtrax to be controlled. We have a lot of tools in Qualtrax that help you streamline the document editing process. One of those is really utilizing headers and footers and templates for your documents. You can standardize your logos, information about your company, but then also information like this in terms of who edited the document, the document number, an ID, and publish date. This information is key for every document that you have and will automatically get updated every single time there's a new revision of that document or SOP. One of the questions that we'll often get is around the properties of the document. Every document will have a unique title and ID number. You'll be able to see a revision, and of course, you can actually generate a PDF of that document as well directly in the system. So anytime somebody accesses that document, they're only seeing that PDF version. The next area pertains to standards, which will allow you to connect your documents to specific standards that you have in the system and specific areas within that standard. This allows you to run gap analysis reports later on and when you're preparing for audits to see how your documents align with that standard. What you're viewing here is what we call our document lifecycle process. What this process is doing is really controlling the full versioning of your documents. So let's pretend and walk through this. A document is created. We are collecting the properties about that document and assigning a document owner to that document. At the given time period, usually that's within a year, or sometimes it's biannually, or even if it's an edit on demand, that person will edit the document. Those edits will be tracked. We have an integration with track changes that you can utilize that will grab the edits and automatically put them in Qualtrax. Once that edit is complete, that person has a couple of options. They can either send it to another editor for another editor to edit, or they can send it out for an optional review. Once it's sent out for review, other team members can review the changes that editor made and then give feedback around those changes. All of this is being prompted by Qualtrax. Once the review stage is over, the editor can incorporate those changes and then send it out for additional approval. At the approval step, those approvers will either reject it. If they reject it, we'll ask why they rejected it. If they want to publish it, they can go ahead and publish that document. Once new versions of the document are published, old revisions will automatically be retired and watermarked within Qualtrax, and only specific people with the right permissions will even have access to those documents. I show you this because this is what's happening on the back end. When you start looking at Qualtrax or other quality management systems, it's important for you to prove document control. You need something to this level to do that. What that looks like within our system is, if we reference our history tab, we are collecting all of those details, that full audit trail of that process within our system. So if I click history, I can see who edited the last document, the start date, the release date, the publish date, the approval process, what changes were made, edit reason, reviewer history. And I'm going to track this for every document that you have in the system. If you ever want to take a deeper dive into this, please let us know. We would always be happy to jump on a demo and walk you through this process. So the next area I'm going to jump to is tests and trainings. So let's pretend we've now released an SOP, and now we need to make sure that everybody in the organization has read that SOP. Well, we do that through acknowledgement tests. Acknowledgement tests are individual tests that can be sent out automatically by Qualtrax every single time there's a new published revision of a specific document. And they can be this simple. Please acknowledge that you've read this latest published revision of this document. It's attached here. Click yes and hit submit. And by doing this simple task and having Qualtrax automate this, it's giving you the data that you can show your auditor that says, yes, these people have been notified that this document is up to date, they have read it, and they've shown that they have read that. Now, let's pretend the document goes through a major overhaul and there's specific, you really want to track competency and make sure somebody read that document. You could change this, multiple choice, true, false questions, really tracking competency around that SOP that was released. We also have the ability to do more detailed trainings. With Qualtrax, we give you a training engine where you get to develop what your training is going to be. You would give us a description. So in this case, we're going to train on bloodborne pathogens. This is your annual bloodborne pathogen training and test that you need to go through as an employee. You're going to point people to specific resources for them to be familiar with. So in this case, I need you to read a document. I also need you to watch a video. Once that is complete, they would type in the date that they were trained, maybe even attach a document of completion or a certificate or something that a record of some sort that they have associated with this training if it's important. Then they would click training is complete. At this point, the system's going to prompt them to take an exam. So yes, I want to take this test. And here is a great multiple choice true-false test really tracking competency to this test. If somebody did not participate in the training and they did not pay attention, they're not going to be able to pass this test. The system will automatically grade these tests for them. You can give it the percentage that they need to be passing. So in this case, they have to get 100. For your test, maybe it's 90% or 80%. You even get to choose what these questions are and how many they need to be. We have the ability to even have a pool of questions that randomly rotate to make sure people don't cheat off of each other. Up to you how complex or simple you want this to make sure you're tracking competency. On the reporting side, I'm going to show you some reports that you can run with test and training as well. With reports, as I mentioned when we first got started, you have the ability to have visibility into your data. So for example, you have system reports that will automatically come with the system, like document by standards or master document lists. These are ones that you don't have to maintain anymore, and the system will be able to generate for you. And then we have some around here for testing results in our training matrix. We'll click on our training matrix. This is often a popular report that we see individuals run because it gives everybody and gives those quality team members the view of how people are interacting with their trainings, what they've completed, what they haven't completed, what's optional, and what is required. And so at any given point, you can run a list of all of the people in your organization and see how updated their training records are. We use Qualtrax ourselves. We're ISO 9001, and so this is a report that our quality manager is running often to see where we stand. Another great thing about our testing and training is that individuals do have access to their own training records. So at any point, somebody like Eric, we'll pick on Eric today, can go into his own training and personnel file and be able to have access to his training records. So let's go and see when he took this calibration training. You can see that this has been completed. You can see that it was acknowledged by Eric on a specific date. He took this test, and it was even signed off by his manager, Trevor. This is the document he was trained on, the date it was completed, and you can see that he took the test and passed. The system will even tell you if he doesn't pass. It'll tell you how many times he failed it and when he finally passed it, if you would like to see that information as well. So the next area I'm going to talk about is our workflow engine. As I mentioned, workflows really comes down to the ability to automate different processes that you have for your organization. What you see here is a list of workflows that you would actually get in your system. Qualtrax comes with a series of what we call our best-in-class workflows that you can use right out of the box. They're pretty turnkey, where we would just set them up for your system upon training. Those best-in-class workflows include corrective action requests, internal audits, proficiency test monitoring, validations, vendor approvals, customer complaints. We also have some for a risk assessment, and then also management review. And how these work is that we're automating these processes around them. A lot of our customers, prior to coming Qualtrax, they're handling these processes manually. Maybe you have a spreadsheet you're collecting this information in. Maybe you have an actual physical paper form that you're writing all of this information in. Either way, you will have this information. If I scroll down all the way to the bottom of the corrective action request, you'll notice a diagram. This diagram is what we're going to go through in terms of the corrective action process. So step one, reporting the nonconformance. You're going to be putting information at this step of a potential nonconformance. If I scroll up here to the top, you'll see some of the fields that would be submitted. So the date that it occurred, the section of the organization, the standard it's associated with, deficiency, was there any immediate action taken, supporting documentation, and source. So we'll go ahead and type in some information. You can see I've got a lot of standards in this system. This is really just to show for demo purposes. We'll say that there was an incorrect reading on an Drummond. There we go. Was there any immediate action taken? Not at this time. And then I'm going to choose where this came from. Let's pretend that I found this from an internal audit, and then we'll hit submit for review. Once I hit submit for review, if I go back down to my diagram, it immediately pushed this on to the next step where this team member or group of people got notifications and email notifications so they can do the next step of the process. So in this case, is a nonconformance needed? If I scroll back to the top, you'll see a system of a couple of fields that need to be answered. Is a car needed? We'll say yes. If I had comments, I would write my comments in here. Was work stopped? We'll say no. If it was stopped, when was it stopped? When did it resume? And then who's going to be responsible for cause analysis and plan? This is where you get to choose who is going to get the next email notification and task to complete the next step. Now you'll notice if I look at this diagram, I have two options. Now, if a car is not required, I can close it. If it is required, I can submit it to cause analysis and plan development. That's where I would click this button. And what we're doing is we're guiding people through these steps at every step of the process. You're truly controlling the corrective action process in this way. I'm going to scroll all back down to my diagram. Every instance of a corrective action that's being controlled in Qualtrax will follow these steps, and it's not possible to deviate from these steps. This is great because it's going to make our reporting easier and you have better visibility into that data so you can truly identify trends and areas for improvement. If I come back over to my reports section, I mentioned some of the standard reports that you can run. You also have custom reports that you can run. So here's one for corrective action requests. If I click run, we're going to run a report of all the corrective action instances I have in this demo system. And you can see and imagine if you've been using Qualtrax for many, many years and you have a lot of corrective action instances in your database, you might need the ability to filter down to really see specific information, whether it's within a specific time period or at a current step or the initiator. You'll be able to do that with our reporting. I'm just going to click run report. And here we have some examples of corrective action instances that I have in this system. When you're looking at these reports, this is a great way to be able to identify trends and opportunities for improvement. Look at current step, look at deficiencies, look at the section of the laboratory that they're having these issues in, or the source. And you might start identifying different trends or things that continue to happen. If that's the case, that's where you are starting to identify those risks and opportunities for improvement. At that point, you can use some of our other workflows like our management review workflow or even our risk assessment workflow to be able to grade those risks and determine what needs to happen and the timeline it needs to happen in. But at the end of the day, this reporting really is going to give you that visibility into that data. If you look at some of the other workflows that we have over here, as we talk through like internal audits and proficiency testing or any of the other ones we do have the ability to launch workflows from within workflows. So for example, if I scroll down here to the bottom, this is one for customer complaints. It's one of the big workflows we're seeing a lot of interest in lately because of the way the standards have changed. So you're going through, a complaint has been received, it's being reviewed. If it needs to go to root cause, and during the root cause investigation, you realize, hey, a corrective action request is actually needed at this step. Well, you can actually launch a corrective action instance from the root cause investigation. By doing that, it's actually going to capture information collected during the customer complaint process and automatically put it into the CAR, and then the CAR will continue through the corrective action workflow. So a great way just to streamline how information is collected and keep people moving forward and keeping these processes moving forward. This is a very high-level overview of what Qualtrax has to offer from a functionality standpoint. If you have more questions or like to take a deeper dive, please let my team or myself or our team know. We'd be happy to do that with you. Now, if you choose to move forward with Qualtrax, we do a lot with you to make sure that at the end of the day, you get the most out of your investment. We have a 97% customer retention rate. This is a rate that we are we put a lot of emphasis on. We really want to make sure that our customers are happy with the product and that our ears are open so we can make sure that we understand what is going well, what is not going well, and how we can improve as an organization as well. So after you purchase the product, the first thing that we'll do with you is a training, and it's about a 6 to 8 week training period where we'll teach you how to use the system, how to administer the system, and ultimately push the system out to all of your users. Even once that training is over, we do a lot of routine customer engagement. We want your feedback. We want to know what we can do to improve, and really hope we keep that communication open with you. If you ever need additional help with your system, we offer additional services through additional trainings or we can create workflows for you. We can even bring in your documents if you would like us to through that personalized service. And then you also have access to our development team. We also have our own user conference, and this is a conference we do every 18 months, which will allow you to come to Blacksburg, where we're located, and get more hands-on training, but also interact and network with other industry professionals, and it's really a great time. On top of that, a part of your subscription to Qualtrax includes unlimited technical support, so feel free to reach out to us through phone, email, or chat. We're happy to assist you with anything that you need. And they also have a pretty quick turnaround time as well. That brings me to the end of our presentation. If you have questions, please feel free to put those into the Q&A section, and I'll be happy to go through those here at the end. Thank you. All right, I do see that we have a question. You mentioned updates are rolled out 2 to 3 times per year automatically. Is this validation documentation is provided ahead of time? That's a great question. I'm assuming you're asking me that because are you under FDA by chance? Yes. Okay. So actually, we have an FDA package that you can purchase with Qualtrax that really is around this type of validation process. We have a number of organizations that are using Qualtrax today that are under FDA CFR Part 11 and they have to validate their software. And so we have a workbook package that includes like the validation scripts. It also includes like we're doing the site acceptance tests and so on. We can give you some more information around what this package looks like, but ultimately we actually handle our FDA customers a little bit differently than our typical organizations for exactly the reason why you mentioned. With our updates, we're not updating our FDA customers 2 to 3 times a year because that will force you to go through the validation process of your software. We're in communication with you. We're talking to you when we do have a rollout to see if it's the right time to give you that update or not. And so we're really walking with you and communicating with you to make your schedules and what you guys are able to do from a validation standpoint. And if that's something that you would, wonderful. Glad to hear that answered your question. Can you perform one of your queries? Like a report, Anthony? Yes. Anyone that you want to see? Maybe around documents. I didn't go through one on documents. I went through the training. I went through one on workflows. You want me to do a document one? Sure. All right. So one of the ones that we'll often see people run, especially when they're going into their audits, is the document by standards report. This is a way that you're connecting your documents to specific areas of a standard. So in this case, we're going to choose, we'll go into 17025 2017. I'm just going to pick a couple of the standards in here. I don't have the real standards in here since it's a demo instance and we don't have the copyright for those standards. But when you purchase Qualtrax and you do have the copyright for the standards, we will take the real standards and put them into your instance for you. So I'm going to choose some fields and it's going to give me a report. And I see a couple of things here. The first thing I'm going to see is this document by standards report. So I can see where I have documents supporting what areas of the standards, and more importantly, where I have gaps. If you're going into your audit and you're running these reports and you notice that you don't have documents supporting specific areas, well, maybe this is a way for you, and you need them there. You need to improve on that. You need to add more documentation. And so just that visual representation will give you an idea if you're on track or not. But even beyond that, you have the ability to really track some of your documents. And so you can see under this specific area of the standard, you can see the document ID, the title, the type of document, the revision number, the date it was published, and the status. So running status reports of your documents is another type of report that you'll see run with our system, just so quality managers and team members can be able to see what documents are published, which ones are going through edit at this time, which ones are being reviewed or approved, or worse, which ones have expired. And so by being able to have that visibility, you can quickly act. Another popular document report that we'll see is this document master document list. I think one thing that I didn't mention is a lot of times when you're looking at what we're capturing for the history of a document and what Qualtrax is doing on the back end and collecting all that data, you don't have to manually update master document lists anymore. You can take that Excel sheet, if you have one that you're manually updating every time there's a document revision, you don't need it anymore other than to reference as an archived file. Now you can actually just run the report in Qualtrax. And it's going to capture the information in real time where you're going to be able to see the type of document, when it was last published, the standard it's associated with, what part of the organization it's associated with, and so on. So you're really able to drill down into that information and have that clarity. Great questions. Anything else? And I mentioned if you guys ever want to go a little bit deeper, aha! I see what you're saying there. All right, and I'll finish my thought for everybody else on the call. If you guys ever want to take a deeper dive into the product, please let us know. We're always happy to do that. And I'm trying to think, Anthony, where I have a good example of that. Let me jump into another demo. So the question is, can you link a document to a non-conforming event or a corrective action across workflows? Absolutely. And I'm not sure if I have an example of that in my corrective action request that I showed you, but I definitely know I have that in a management review one. So a part of the workflows, though you have our 8 best in class that will come with the system, you also have the ability to customize those 8 best in class, but then you also have the ability to create some from scratch. There's one thing we understand is that not every one of our customers handles their processes the exact same way. We don't want to push you into a format that's not going to truly fit your needs. And so a part of that training that we go through is teaching you how to customize these workflows, but then even creating them from scratch. We have a workflow designer. You can create your own diagrams and create your own processes. I'm going to go ahead and kick off this management review. And I'm showing you this one just because there's a field in here that I know of that is going to answer your question. So the question is, can you link a document to a non-conforming event or a corrective action request around workflows? Absolutely. So in this management review, you're going through management review. You come here. What section are you going to review at this time? You could choose a specific date. Here are your agenda and notes that you're going to be using for that specific management review meeting. Here is the next thing, where it's like internal documents to review and update. Oops, I need to choose. Here you're actually linking to your document tree. So if this is a field option that you have in Qualtrax that you could add to your corrective action request workflow if you wanted to, where it's going to look up specific SOPs or documents that you have in your document tree. So I could come here and choose specifically. Let's choose my calibration procedure. I would click add. It's already here, so I don't need to click add. But by doing that, now this document is associated and linked with this specific workflow instance. And this would be an option that you could put on other workflows within our system. Does that help answer your question, Anthony? Yes, intense. Hopefully not too intense. I hope I wasn't moving too fast. There's definitely a lot of capability that the system can offer. And that's why we really take the time to make sure that if you do purchase the system, that you're comfortable with it, and you can see kind of the value that it brings to its users. Great questions. Anything else? Well, as you continue to evaluate or look into Qualtrax, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can get us through our website, or in fact, you can reach out to sales@qualtrax.com. We do private demonstrations for you. We can jump on calls or even go into more technical aspects of the product if that's something that you're interested in. Thank you, everybody, so very much for your time today, and we look forward to connecting with you soon. Bye-bye.